Yes, good day, everyone. Today we're going to be talking of experiential learning theory. We will talk a little bit about the systems theory and how these two theories can be used, in the teaching and learning in environmental education. Um, as the word indicates, experiential learning means learning from experience. That's what the learning theory is about. System theory shows us the how issues are interconnected, how they are connected to each other, and then how we can use that type of learning to explain some of the issues that we have in environmental education. So in this lecture, we're going to be talking about the meaning of experiential learning theory. The person who developed it. We talk about the meaning of the systems theory and their relationship with environmental education. That means the relationship between experiential learning theory, systems theory, and environmental education. And then as we go along, since we are in the faculty of education, we're going to be talking about the applications of these two theories for learning and teaching. Of course, we all know that learning is much more effective when students are allowed to experience uh, and understand uh, things when they are when they are there, when you put them out there in the open where you can feel, touch, see what you are talking about. It's different from when it is only the lecturer or the teacher speaking in front of them. They can't see what you are talking about. They can't feel what you are talking about. They only hear it through them. But when they can see, touch, feel, and all those things, learning is usually much more effective, or teaching is much more effective. Um, well, the meaning of experiential theory. Okay, so experiential learning is simply when people learn from experience. You learn from experience, and it's much more difficult to forget what you did by doing things themselves, and so it's easier for them to recollect and retain that type of information as opposed to something that they just heard. In terms of the systems theory, we're talking about how the world is connected. That when one thing changes in one part of the world, it is likely to cause a change in some other things in other parts, or even in the same area. And then the experiential theory, of course, means that we learn best by doing instead of just listening. And then the relationship with environmental education. Environmental it uses this idea, it uses the idea of systems theory and experiential learning theory to teach, to impart, to facilitate learning and understanding of environmental issues. We use it to promote positive environmental attitudes for sustainable, for sustainable, for us to be able to have a sustainable environment. Okay, so environmental education, of course, focuses on understanding the environment. Remember that from our earlier classes. It encourages responsible environmental behavior. That means when people know, one would assume or expect that they will begin to practice. Of course, there will be some stubborn ones amongst us because it is not everything we know that is bad that we don't do. We know some things are bad, but we still do them. But in this case, we are trying to ensure that when we teach the children, it will not depart from the way we have taught them. And when we teach them about environmental issues, how to take care of the environment, that they will continue to, take care of the environment as they grow older and as they move out into the world. Uh, our environment will be the best for it. Uh, of course, they will develop knowledge and skills and attitudes and promote sustainable living. Those are the things that I just explained. Experiential learning theory. So this was developed by David Kopp. Learning occurs through experience. Knowledge is created through transformation of experience. Active participation is important. So David Kopp, just what was on his mind was that learners gain a deeper understanding when they learn by doing rather than only by listening. I mean, it is self-explanatory, is it not? That when you do something, Imagine I'm just explaining to you that if you eat a bar, you roll it in your hand, you put it in your mouth, and it tastes like this. It has a faint taste. It's a bit pepperish. It's okra soup or with bangal. But when you eat it, you will be able to tell by yourself that when I ate that eba, it tasted like this. It was so the experience. There's nothing that beats experiences. Of course, we do pray that we don't have to experience everything bad, especially before we learn. But the truth of the matter is that experience is one of the best, teachers. And so David Cobb was of the opinion that experiential learning theory is that learning occurs best through experience. And this is the learning cycle of this experiential learning theory is that first is the concrete experience. That means the students are first experience the activity, then they reflect on the activity that they just experienced. Sometimes they are expected to conceptualize in the abstract of the things that what some of the things that have preceded the activity that they are experiencing. And then after they have conceptualized and thought of it, okay, you're trying to remove this one from the soil so that it doesn't cause this other uh, type of pollution to the water that is under the soil and all those things. After they have conceptualized it, we then go into an active experimentation where they now apply what they have learned in new situations. That is how, if you want to teach using Cobb's experiential learning, this is the cycle. First of all, you get them to experience it. Then you encourage active reflection of the different what they have observed. Then you begin to conceptualize. Okay, what if you want to apply this same method to A or B or C before you now, try to facilitate some form of active to some active experimentation. Experiential learning in environmental education. So how do you do that? Field trips and outdoor learning are the best way. You go outdoors to go and learn how uh, you know uh, some of these waste disposal methods are being applied. Uh, they can go out to study ecosystems, you know, through field trips. You can you can go can study ecosystem directly during field trips or participate in environmental conservation activities. And environmental sanitation activities, go to field trip to observe how the ecosystem of the animals and plants, non-living and living things, water, air is affecting the plants, animals, human beings, and those just the interconnectedness of the whole, of the environment. The benefits. What are the benefits of experiential learning? It improves understanding of environmental issues. That's basic. It improves understanding of environmental. It encourages critical thinking. It allows the students to connect theory with the real environmental problem. So by the time you've taught them in class, they've heard about ABC, that is. When you get to the forest, for example, and you may yet find some plants or trees that somehow water is not getting to them, so they're beginning to grow brown and they die. Some water getting there, or some human activity has channeled the water away from started. So generally speaking, they will experience it, see how those problems have arisen, and you know, it increases their engagement. You let them know that look, it is your responsibility as a human being to ensure that we don't destroy the earth, because most of the problems that we have of pollution, deforestation is human problems. Human problems, correct. So, if we want a sustainable earth, we do need to teach and take environmental education very, very seriously. Okay, let's talk about the systems theory. It was developed from general system thinking, focusing on relationship between components. The system consists of interdependent parts. Changes in one part affect the whole system. So this systems theory can be used to explain how, you know, explain environmental and for students to understand that, to understand environmental problems and to understand that they are interconnected rather than isolated. For example, the ecosystem involves plants, animals, soil, microorganisms working together in the same environment. The water cycle is the one that moves water through evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. The climate is the one that regulates global temperature, the weather patterns, and so on and so forth. Whether it is raining, sunny, very hot, very cold, is the climate system. Then we have human activities such as deforestation, pollution, greenhouse gas emission that can disrupt these systems, leading to problems like when you deforest, like I was saying, if you cut too many trees and the habitat of a certain animal is affected too much, the animal will have to go to another place which may not be safe for it. That's how we begin to lose biodiversity. We lose some of the species, lose some of the animals, lose. If we pollute the water, we will definitely have water scarcity at some point. And because of the greenhouse gas emissions and co, climate is changing. And climate is not changing for the better. That's a sad truth. Okay, so what are these different environmental systems that I just talked about briefly? Environmental systems. So we have the ecosystem. We have the ecosystem. The ecosystem is simply ecosystems. What are ecosystems? Ecosystems are places where animals and living and non-living things are living together. What are the living things? Plants, animals, humans. What are the non-living things that are living, that are together in that place? We have water, air, soil, and we interact with each other. The human being cannot live without air. Neither can the plant or the plant live without the soil and water. The animals too need air. They need other animals and plants, and we also need other plants and animals to eat. Can you see how we are all interconnected? Can you see how we are all interconnected? That's an ecosystem. So, for instance, for example, a forest ecosystem includes trees, birds, insects, soil, water, and sunlight, and they all depend on each other to survive. Water cycles. What are the water cycles? Water is the continuous movement of water from the earth to the air and back to the earth again through evaporation, condensation, and rain. Example, water from the ocean evaporates because of the sun. It forms clouds, then falls as rain, and the rainwater then flows into rivers and back to the ocean. I see the cycle. Those are the climate system. Climates are the pattern of weather in a place over time, including temperature, rainfall, and the like. We already talked about that. A place that has heavy rain most of the year is called a tropical. We said that it has a tropical climate. While a place that is dry has a desert, it's called the desert climate. And how do human environmental interactions, our interactions, we've mentioned them before, deforestation, pollution, also living, and the way we interact, like I said, we are interrelated, interdependent, because we depend on each other. So system thinking in environmental education, it helps to understand the complexity of environmental challenges and evaluate. When you think of the interconnectedness of the different things that we have discussed so far, it will make it easier for you to understand and analyze the cause and effect. Which one is causing which problem? How can we stop this problem from reoccurring so that it does not continue to cause a certain problem? It will promote sustainable decision making and encourage holistic thinking. If you remember in some of our earlier classes, we talked about holistic thinking, where even at the point of purchasing an item, you are conscious of how it was produced, whether it was produced in an environmentally friendly way, how parts of it are going to be disposed of, if it is going to be harmful to the environment, and so on and so forth. In fact, studying cars, I'm sorry to say this, but it's most likely that most of the cars that are coming to Nigeria, because we don't seem to have any form of control over the type of emissions. Sometimes you are driving and there's a car in front of you and the smoke coming out of the car is such that you have to slow down. If you don't have AC, you have to slow down because you will inhale too much of black smoke. Sometimes you slow down just for it to carry a wahala and go before you move, because the smoke is just too much. Nobody is regulating the amount of air pollution that that type of vehicle is you know is causing. So, but when majority of us have some form of environmental education, we know that this is, we need to think. I was going to say that most of the cars that are coming are probably no longer able to be used in Europe and America, because they have strict laws about the type of the amount of emissions that each car should be contributing to the environment. But in Africa, the dead cars from there, they bring it here. It's Chacha, it's Tokumbo. Fire, we don't even check. Some of the things that are supposed to regulate the emissions will even be removed by the mechanic and tell you that it's catalyst. It does not matter. Now we know that it actually helps to regulate emissions and fuel consumption and the like. Way back in the day when we first started using it, remove it. It's causing some problem. Remove it. So I mean, whereas these are things that were put there for to protect the environment. Anyway, so uh, let's go on. What's the link between experiential learning and the systems theory? So, I mean, this is. I mean, okay. Don't let me say it's a no-brainer, because, but so when we know that systems theory is talking about the interconnectedness of things. And now, when you now know, when you use it to explain how the different air, water, man, animal, plant uh, is interconnected, and how activities in one or changes in one could cause a change in the other one, then you now take the student out into the environment to go and experience that same interconnectedness of the different aspects of the environment. It enhances, it helps, you know, it improves their understanding of the complexity, even though it is sometimes complex. It will improve their understanding of environmental issues. That's just the link. The link is that the interconnectedness of the different theories that brought it out, then you now connect it with experiencing it in real time with maybe community-based activities, environmental sanitation. You visit a field trip to a plant, a plant, some, so it enhances understanding and learning of environmental issues. Teaching strategies, of course, teaching strategies would include outdoor learning activities, project-based environmental studies, community environmental projects, and collaborative problem solving. Of course, you can give them tasks apart from going on field trips and the like. You can give them tasks. Okay, this is a problem. See what you can do to solve it. Think up a plan. Let's see how we can recycle this. Let's see how we can dispose it that it will not be a pollution. Because what can we do to these cars that are smoking and all sorts of things. Let them think up strategies and But these are the ways you can do it. Outdoor learning activities, project based. A project. So yeah, we need to clean the school. So that we need to make sure that there's no pollution from this particular aspect of the generator, or whatever it is. But these are the ways that you can. These are the teaching strategies that you can use to to teach environmental education using the systems theory and the experiential learning theory. What is the importance of sustainable development? It encourages responsible citizenship. It's for sustainability, pure and simple. Sustainability, pure and simple. Improves the environmental decision making and supports sustainable development goals. What's going on? What is the last one? Okay, so experiential training learning enhances engagement, systems thinking explains environmental complexity, and both theories strengthen environmental education. Thank you very much for listening. I will be putting out more videos very soon, hopefully sooner than the period between the last one and this one. Thank you very much for listening. Do have a great day.